It doesn't sit quietly beneath your skin. It doesn't wait politely to be burned away. It lives deeper than that, wrapped around your organs like a tightening grip, pressing into your liver, crowding your pancreas, whispering signals your body was never designed to hear this often. Visceral fat is not passive. It is active, chemical, aggressive. It releases inflammatory molecules into your bloodstream, disturbs your hormones, and slowly rewires the way your metabolism behaves. And yet, the solution isn't starvation. It isn't endless cardio. It isn't punishing yourself into exhaustion. Because this tissue doesn't just respond to how much you eat, it responds to what you eat. There are certain foods that don't just feed you, they speak directly to this fat. They interfere with its signals, weaken its hold, and shift your body back toward balance. The first is something ancient, simple, almost overlooked: eggs. Not just protein, but a dense biological package of choline, a nutrient your liver depends on to process fat correctly. When choline is insufficient, fat begins to accumulate where it shouldn't, especially inside the liver, a close neighbor to visceral fat. Eggs interrupt that process. When you eat eggs, especially in the morning, something shifts. Your blood sugar stabilizes. Hunger hormones like ghrelin quiet down. You stop chasing food every 2 hours. And without those constant insulin spikes, visceral fat loses one of its strongest allies. But it goes deeper than appetite control. Eggs provide high-quality protein that forces your body to spend more energy digesting it, a thermic effect that subtly increases calorie burn without effort. Over time, this changes the metabolic environment visceral fat depends on. Now, imagine replacing a refined, sugar-heavy breakfast with something grounded, stable, nutrient-dense. You're not just eating differently, you're sending a different message to your biology. The second food works in a quieter way. It doesn't feel powerful when you eat it. There's no immediate sensation, no dramatic shift. But inside your gut, it begins a transformation. Leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, bitter, fibrous, alive with compounds your body recognizes instantly. These greens are loaded with magnesium, a mineral that plays a critical role in insulin sensitivity. And insulin sensitivity is everything when it comes to visceral fat. The more resistant your body becomes, the more insulin it pumps out. And insulin doesn't just regulate sugar, it tells your body to store fat, especially in the abdominal region. Leafy greens push back. They also feed your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that quietly influence your metabolism, your inflammation levels, even how much fat your body decides to hold onto. Fiber from greens ferments in your colon, producing short-chain fatty acids that directly reduce inflammation and improve metabolic health. This is not surface-level change. This is internal recalibration. And something else happens almost unnoticed. Your body begins to feel lighter, not just physically, but chemically. The inflammation that once pulsed quietly through your system begins to fade. The signals driving visceral fat start to weaken. You're not forcing fat to disappear, you're removing the conditions that allowed it to exist. And that changes everything. There is a moment, usually in the late afternoon, when your energy dips and your cravings sharpen. It's subtle at first, a restlessness, a pull towards something quick, something sweet, something that promises relief. And most people give in, unknowingly feeding the very system that keeps visceral fat alive. Because this fat thrives on instability. Blood sugar spikes, crashes, spikes again. But the third food interrupts that cycle with precision: berries. Small, vibrant, deceptively powerful. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, each one carrying a dense concentration of polyphenols, compounds that interact directly with fat cells and metabolic pathways. These aren't just antioxidants in the casual sense, they are signaling molecules. When you eat berries, they begin to influence how your body handles glucose. They slow the absorption of sugar into your bloodstream, preventing those violent spikes that trigger insulin surges. And without those surges, visceral fat loses another layer of protection. But there's more. Polyphenols have been shown to alter gene expression in fat cells, reducing their tendency to store fat and increasing their capacity to burn it. It's not dramatic in a single moment, you won't feel it instantly, but over days, weeks, months, this quiet shift compounds. Your body becomes less willing to store fat, less reactive, less inflamed. And then there's the fiber, soluble, gel-like, expanding in your gut, slowing digestion, extending satiety. You stop needing constant fuel. The noise of hunger fades into something manageable, something you control instead of obey. The fourth food works differently. It doesn't slow things down, it sharpens them. Fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, rich in omega-3 fatty acids that your body cannot produce on its own. These fats don't behave like the ones you've been told to fear. They are structural, foundational, deeply integrated into your cells. Visceral fat is strongly linked to chronic inflammation. Omega-3s attack that inflammation at its root. They reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines, the same signals that keep visceral fat metabolically active and dangerous. But they do something else, something that feels almost like flipping a switch. They improve insulin sensitivity. When your cells respond properly to insulin, your body doesn't need to flood your bloodstream with it. Lower insulin levels mean less fat storage, particularly in the abdominal region. The environment begins to change again. Less storage, more release. And over time, your body starts accessing fat that once felt locked away. There's a shift in how energy is used, a quiet transition from constant storage to controlled burning. And for the first time in a long time, your body starts working with you instead of against you. It doesn't happen all at once. There is no dramatic moment where everything changes overnight. Instead, it unfolds slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you realize something feels different. Your body is no longer resisting you in the same way. The tension has eased. The weight, once stubborn and immovable, has begun to respond. And the final food plays a crucial role in that shift. Fermented foods. Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut. Foods that are alive, carrying billions of beneficial bacteria into your gut. Because visceral fat is not just a matter of calories or exercise, it is deeply connected to the health of your microbiome. When your gut is imbalanced, inflammation rises. Hormones become dysregulated. Your body becomes more efficient at storing fat and less capable of burning it. Fermented foods begin to repair that. They introduce probiotics that crowd out harmful bacteria, restore balance, and strengthen the intestinal barrier. This matters more than most people realize, because when that barrier is compromised, toxins leak into your bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation, fuel for visceral fat. As your gut heals, that leakage stops, inflammation drops, your metabolism stabilizes, and something subtle but powerful begins to happen. Your body starts trusting its own signals again. Hunger becomes clearer. Fullness becomes more defined. The chaotic noise that once drove overeating fades into something quieter, something you can actually listen to. This is where everything connects. Eggs stabilizing your mornings, leafy greens repairing your metabolic foundation, berries reshaping how your body handles sugar, fatty fish reducing inflammation and restoring insulin sensitivity, fermented foods rebuilding your gut from the inside out, each one targeting a different pathway, each one weakening visceral fat from a different angle. This isn't about restriction. It's not about cutting everything out and living in constant deprivation. It's about precision. Feeding your body in a way that changes the environment visceral fat depends on. Because once that environment shifts, the fat has nowhere left to hide. It begins to shrink, slowly, quietly, inevitably. And what replaces it isn't just a smaller waistline. It's clarity, energy, stability, a body that feels like it belongs to you again.